Zara led them through a maze of partially collapsed buildings, her amber eyes constantly scanning for threats. The distant sound of boots on pavement and authoritative voices grew closer, punctuated by the distinctive whoosh of someone flying overhead. "This way," she whispered, ducking into what looked like a maintenance tunnel. The entrance was nearly hidden behind twisted rebar and chunks of concrete. "I've been mapping the underground passages since I arrived here 3 months ago." Michael hesitated at the dark opening. Back in Oklahoma, his parents had always warned him about abandoned places, but the approaching voices decided for him. He followed Yuki into the tunnel, his hand still gripping the pocket knife for comfort. The passage opened into a larger chamber that had once been part of the city's subway system. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows on the walls, and Michael could hear water dripping somewhere in the darkness. Zara pulled out a device that looked like a flashlight crossed with a crystal, bathing the area in warm, steady light. "Magitech Illuminator," she explained, noticing Michael's curious stare. "Where I come from, we learned to blend science and magic centuries ago, much more reliable than regular batteries." "Where exactly do you come from?" Michael asked, settling onto a relatively clean section of platform. The adrenaline was wearing off, replaced by exhaustion and a growing need for answers. Zara's expression darkened. "A place called New Babylon in what you'd probably call an alternate Earth. Think steampunk meets Harry Potter but with more explosions." She gestured to her equipment. "I was working on a project to stabilize dimensional barriers when something went wrong. Really, really wrong." Yuki sat cross-legged between them, her violet eyes reflecting the magical light. "The rifts have been appearing more frequently since then. I can see them, little tears in the air that most people miss. They look like heat shimmer but wrong somehow." "You can actually see them." Michael leaned forward, fascinated despite his confusion. "Is that your quirk?" "I don't think so," Yuki replied softly. "Quirks usually manifest around age 4. I've been able to see the rift since I was 7, right after my parents disappeared. Grandmother thinks it might be connected to what happened to them, but she won't talk about it much." The pain in her voice was unmistakable, and Michael felt a pang of sympathy. His own parents were probably worried sick, assuming time worked the same way across dimensions. "I'm sorry about your parents." "They might not be gone," Zara said gently. "Just displaced like us. The rifts don't usually destroy things, they relocate them. The problem is figuring out where." Above them, heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnel system. All 3 children froze, holding their breath as voices filtered down from street level. "No sign of additional casualties here, Eraserhead," a woman's voice reported. "But there are definitely traces of dimensional energy. Whatever caused that rift is still active." "Keep searching," came the reply, gravelly and tired. "If there are displaced civilians, we need to find them before they get hurt or cause panic." Michael started to stand, instinct telling him to call out for help, but Yuki grabbed his wrist. She shook her head urgently, her silver-streaked hair catching the Magitech light. "They mean well," she whispered when the voices faded, "but they don't understand. The heroes here deal with quirk-based problems. Dimensional displacement is beyond their experience. They'd separate us, put us in different facilities while they tried to figure out what we are." "And meanwhile," Zara added, "more rifts keep opening. More people get lost between worlds. The problem gets worse while bureaucrats argue about procedures." Michael slumped back against the tunnel wall. Everything felt impossibly complicated. "So what do we do? Just hide down here forever?" "We learn," Yuki said simply. "We figure out how the rifts work, why they're happening, and maybe how to control them. Together." Zara nodded, pulling out what looked like a cross between a compass and a dream catcher. The device hummed softly, its crystalline components glowing with the same blue light as her rope. This is a dimensional resonator. It can detect unstable reality zones within about a mile. I've been tracking patterns, trying to predict where the next rifts will appear. And I can see them when they form, Yuki continued. Sometimes even before they fully manifest. If we work together, we might be able to help people who fall through like you did. Michael looked at both girls, one haunted by loss, the other burdened by guilt over her role in the crisis, both offering him something he'd never expected to find after waking up in an impossible world: belonging. "My dad always said problems look smaller when you face them with friends," he said finally, his decision crystallizing. "I'm in, but I need to understand more about this world first. These quirks, the heroes, all of it." Yuki smiled for the first time since he'd met her, transforming her serious face into something warm and hopeful. "We can teach you, but carefully. The last thing we want is to attract attention from the wrong people." "Wrong people?" Michael asked. Zara's expression grew grim. "Not all the heroes are heroes, Michael, and not everyone who falls through the rifts has good intentions. There are others out there, others who want to use the dimensional instability for their own purposes." As if summoned by her words, the dimensional resonator began to pulse rapidly, its blue light shifting to an urgent amber. Somewhere in the distance, Michael could swear he heard something that sounded like laughter, cold and calculating. The three children looked at each other, understanding passing between them without words. Their hiding place had been discovered, but not by the heroes.